here's the thing. It is very rare for a player as good as you to still fall that far. Because you were – take me back to your draft day. Did you think you were top 10, top 15? You were definitely not expecting to still be on the board at 23.
Yeah, we thought probably the latest would be 12 or 13. Like, that's what we thought. We initially thought 9 to Buffalo.
Right.
That was what my agent was hearing very clearly.
Right.
Was 9 to Buffalo, and they took C.J. Spiller. And then we were like,
uh-oh.
Okay, what's going to happen here? And then and we fell. And then it was like teams kept trading back in. They took Mikey Upati. San Francisco did. And
yeah.
So, like, we were kind of like, well, I have no idea what's going to happen here. So, yeah, once we kind of fell out of that top 12, 13, it was like no idea what's going to happen here now. And that's the way it played out.
Well, and I know, having talked to Ted at the time, because back then he actually would sit down with us one-on-one in addition after the draft was over, and I just remember him saying, I can't believe he was there. I just can't believe he was there. Just the way he just kept saying. And so the reason I bring it up is that doesn't happen often, but is it possible that there could be that guy, a guy, doesn't have to be an offensive lineman, it could be Teteroa McMillan, right, where there's been some folks that I've seen have said, he doesn't like to watch film or this or that. Is that the kind of thing that's enough that a guy that has no business still being on the board comes to Goody? Because let's be honest, given some of these first-round picks who have not either produced right away or not produced as much as you would expect over time as a first-round pick, he could use a guy that has no business being on the board at 23 like you were, and that allows you – because you don't get to take really, really good players in the 20s very often.
Yeah.
It's why Homer has always argued that's why he took Jordan Love when he did, because he didn't think he was going to get a quarterback of that caliber
that late.
And you're always picking in the 20s.
Yep. Yeah.
Who's an example other than Bryan Bulaga who they took because they never thought he would be around that late?
They got back in to get Clay.
So the Clay Matthews story is a little different though, and Goody loves to tell this story, and it's one of my favorites. Is that so? Back then, in 2009, it was the year before Brian got here. But they've got John Schneider, who went on to be a GM, John Dorsey, who went on to be a GM, Reggie McKenzie, and I think Scott McLuhan was still here too. And all four of those guys are working the phones because Ted, who had gone to Clay's pro day, wanted to get back into the first round to take Clay Matthews. And Goody tells the story. This is a really good story that he tells, and I'm not going to do it justice. But all the guys, these are all guys that have futures as GMs, so they know how to drive a bargain, right? They know what they're doing. And they're all the asking prices were too high to get up to 24. They end up trading with the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick. And Belichick subsequently tells the great story about what a galactically stupid thing it was to trade away that pick because he should have taken Clay Matthews. But they were all these teams that they were talking to, every one of them was asking for too high of a price. And Ted finally said, it's not about the price. It's about the player. I want the player. And so I think, and I have not gone back and fact-checked this, but Goody told us this story a couple days ago. I think if you looked at the chart, the Packers gave up more than they should have based on the chart to get Clay Matthews. But you don't win the Super Bowl without Clay
Ron
Matthews.
Wolf should have done the same for Lewis.
Well, and the problem with Lewis is he thought he had him.
Right.
He didn't think he had a trade.
But,
for
if you think he's that good.
Right.
Or
Well,
DeJean.
I'm not ready to say. I know we're in the presence of Iowa royalty. I'm not ready to say that about Cooper DeJean yet. He had a great play in the Super Bowl. He was inconsistent his rookie year. But I'll tell you another guy that would fit that suit, because if you look at kind of the opportunities, there's also reasons why sometimes you miss on a guy because you scout him. And the guy, and this was when Brian was playing, is T.J. Watt. And everyone brings it up that they traded back and they missed out on T.J. Watt, and then they took Kevin King, right?
But they got two players instead of Watt.
They did. They got Vince Beagle in the fourth round.
Correct.
But the mistake there was not trading back. The mistake there was that they misevaluated T.J. Watt, and they didn't think on their grade board, they did not have a big difference between T.J. Watt and Vince Beagle, who played at Wisconsin with him. And that is a failure of scouting.
Yep.
Yeah.
because they were not right about that assessment.
Right.
Yeah.
Also a failure of an important part in Homer's scouting bureau, genes.
Yeah, right. Like, that was another thing that I always thought, too, was that he's J.J. Watt's brother. I think you have to think he's probably got some similar qualities. It was a big whiff. There's no doubt about
All
it.
right. Hard to believe that we're behind. So the last name you want to leave us, for whatever reason you want.
So what I enjoyed when we did our Q&A with LaFleur was he turned the tables on me. You know, Tausch asked him, well, who are you going to pick? And he turned well, Jason, who do you think we should pick? And I said McMillan, the wide receiver. I think that he is special, but I don't think he's going to be there unless he slides. So then LaFleur says, well, what if he's gone? Then I said Shamar Stewart. Again, I'm smitten with potential. His production's terrible, but I think this guy could be. If
He
they
fits
do it.
a Goody.
He does. And then LaFleur says, well, what if he's gone? And I'm like, And he said, now you know what it's like to be in the draft room. Because I sit there. I mean, he didn't say the part about him Goody not caring what he thinks. He said, but I sit there and I see these guys go pick after pick, guys that I like.
Yep.
And you have to keep thinking, okay, who's next on the list? And that's the tough part, too, about picking 23rd, is that not always does a Bryan Bulaga fall to you.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, guys.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Be good.
Fisco Auto Body, a family.